Right guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with Envoy revealing some of the significant problems that OpTic Chicago faced last year. Many questions being raised as to whether the OpTic Dallas rumor that is going on right now can potentially fix some of these issues. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, to dive on it, we did look at this briefly yesterday as our carbon received on screen. Nasty Zero Gizmo Afro seems like the new room in London Royal Raven squad, but to be fair to Astray, he seems to be killing it in the beta right now. He dropped 103 eliminations here on whatever this domination Hotel Royale, I guess this is, as we can see it here in the background. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on the Vanguard beta? It's definitely a splitting opinion right now, because we get this from Arcitys as well. I'm having a blast as he gets absolutely joked by a Thompson here with the STG, and yeah, I'm not really sure how he lost this gunfight in all honesty, but yeah, that's just things that seem to happen nowadays. But well, Arcitys does say, okay, never mind, I am back, it is my year. Gets the nuclear at 28-0 on this map as well. So yes, some pros having a good time, some pros not necessarily convinced. At the end of the day, it's a console beta, so those things I'm sure will still have to be determined when we actually get into the PC beta and we can see how this game could potentially play in in a proper environment that the pros are going to be playing in. And well, this was also noticed yesterday on the Reddit, I believe, and Crow pointed out on Twitter. Guess we know whose year it is with this new blind fire mechanic. Now, at the end of the day, I do wonder whether this will be a competitive play. I can't imagine the pros would particularly like it, but I mean, look at this, right? It's kind of interesting. When we first heard about blind fire, I wasn't really sure what it was going to be, but I don't really understand this whole mechanic, as surely if you can actually see on your screen, like, why do you need to do this kind of mounting hipfire type thing? Surely you can just aim like a normal person, right? But this is kind of like built-in snaking it effect that allows you to do this blind fire stuff. Not really even trying to do this, to be honest. Some people are trying to have, well, they're having trouble figuring out how to make this work, but yeah, this could be right up Cellium's streets, no doubt about that one. But of course, like, this is just getting GA'd straight off the rip, maybe even just straight up disabled in in-game game settings. That's kind of what Crane expects to happen right here. So yeah, they'll just disable it in game settings for competitive play, but maybe Cellium and some of the other players would have different opinions on some of these mechanics, which may be kind of interesting for competitive, but I'm sure most of the pros probably won't like the look of something like this. And as Hinks Burner says here on the Twitter, slasher and accuracy coming up with this year's GA list, it's going to be a tough time. It's going to be significant. There's so many things going on right now with all these incendiary rounds and all the different weaponaries, and it's going to take a long time to figure out what we're going to be using here, I think, for competitive play. Probably another year where competitive is going to be rather starkly different to casual play, which is not necessarily what we want, but for good competitive play, it's probably something which is seemingly a necessity at this point. So let's talk about what happened yesterday then. So of course, yesterday we had this whole discussion when Envoy went on the flank and said a fair few words about the OpTic Chicago team, the issues that team faced last year. This came out from Kevin, well, a couple of weeks ago now. We looked at Envoy and Kenny. Definitely there was some hinting going on here that these two were going to team up. As Envoy goes on to explain here in just a second, as soon as the season ended, it was pretty clear to the OpTic guys that they needed some sort of change going into 2022. That change was pretty much always going to be for formal. Only when this whole OpTic Dallas kind of merger crazy stuff happened, then it was Envoy actually finding himself out of the team. He felt like a few months before the end of the year, he had like maybe a 5% chance of getting dropped from this squad, but of course it raised up significantly higher than that when the OpTic Dallas discussions started to go into effect, we imagine. So yes, formal was meant to be gone off the team pretty much anyway, and Kenny was actually meant to be the replacement, as Envoy goes on to say here in just a second. And kind of funny really, given the fact that Formal and Kenny definitely had their fair share of back and forths and kind of beefs earlier this season, right, where when they'd have a good time, Kenny effectively called Formal like the worst player on OpTic for a while, and then like they were liking each other's tweets when they would lose a series and stuff like this. Bit of good fun, but it could have been very interesting if Kenny was actually the one to replace Formal on OpTic. That would have been quite the storyline as well. But just before I go on to show that clip, I wanted to chuck another couple of clips on the latter end of it, because there was a fair bit of talk yesterday as we looked at this, when Envoy was like, look, we didn't really do enough scrim watching, we didn't really watch any respawn VODs, at least from our own practice, to improve. The only time we went into like private matches to test things out was to find trophy spots and stuff like this, so not putting in anywhere near enough time as they could have done, like waking up late, chalking scrims and all this type of stuff that maybe we presumed was going on, or maybe even streaming scrims gives more accountability, I suppose, to actually turning up on time and doing stuff like this. But many questions being raised is, okay, if that was the team culture last year, how much is that team culture actually going to change going into 2022 on this OpTic Dallas team? Can they possibly turn things around? Cinder as a coach was doing his best, but even with Rambo as the coach, is that going to be enough to turn this ship around?
Well, I will say that last season was like really bad, right? So like going into this next season, if I sit in the team, like I was saying that we were going to need to make a roster change. I think everyone on our team knew we needed to make a roster change. So the plan was to find one for Matt. Yeah. I'll drop a bomb, but
okay.
And I initially I wanted a team with Ken. So coming here was like a no-brainer because Ken was gross last year. I teamed with Ken before, and that's who I wanted. That we were thinking about getting there. But obviously, I get dropped, and then I go to Ken because, that's like my number one pick.
It's like I thought Troy was just going to kind of sit there. But Troy definitely spoke up and like said some things, and Troy would definitely try to be the best coach possible. I know Troy. I love Troy. But the hate. I mean, Dylan, you tell me a little bit about 100%. Troy, because the hate that kid has gotten throughout the year has been like literally just so unwarranted, in my opinion.
There's nothing there's like no hate that should be directed towards him. He did like everything he could to prepare us, like on match days, in practice. He's telling us to do the right things, yelling at us when we're like, obviously like not trying or showing up late. There's just nothing you can do.
It's on the players, man.
It's on the players. Ultimately, like what Sam said, he can't pick up the controller for you and get a 2-piece. He can just only teach you how to do like good habits or make good plays or have good tendencies. He can't play for you. And at the end of the day, like Troy's a godlike coach in my opinion.
In regards to your ex-teammates, they're now going to be, if the rumors are true and Rambo Ray's their coach, he's going to have a different approach. And I know Ray pretty well, and he's not going to let that slide.
I mean, it's hard though. I mean, Troy's thinking the same thing, but outside in, you can't make the players do what like we were talking about earlier.
But the players do what they want. They do what they want. Yeah, they've always been like that.
The players run the scene, bro. The players run the scene. Like there's maybe some organizations like people are handing out fines for certain things, but right now, like the players hold all the power.
So we did look at this very briefly last night from Sender, right? So it's kind of unclear what is exactly going on right here with Sender and OpTic right now, because the current rumors have it that OpTic Dallas is going to become a thing. There's going to be a merger between Envy and OpTic as organizations, or at least in terms of the branding, and that's going to be how things are run going forward. It could be a very long time until things get confirmed, because last year when the whole OpTic branding was coming back, that was in like mid-November sometime. That finally got announced, I'm pretty sure. So it could be a very long time until we actually hear news about this, but I'd imagine we're going to hear something more about it over these coming days and weeks, no doubt. But of course, the current rumors have it that, look, if you are going to bring a coach in, Rambo is maybe the more experienced and superior coach, some people would say, to Sender, at least in terms of achievements, I guess, the last couple of years. And well, there's a fair bit of talk about that. So this is the situation as it stands right now. If you guys are new to this whole rumor, Scump, Dashy, Shotzzy, and ILLey is rumored to be the squad for next year over at whatever's going to be called OpTic Dallas or something along those lines. And well, this, of course, as the team definitely has an incredible amount of talent, but especially if we're talking about these rumors that are coming out from Envoy, right, and the possibility of the lack of discipline that this team had and the difficulty that Sender had kind of getting through to these guys, like, is that going to be the case once again on this team? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, because there has been a fair bit of talk about, yes, look, those are doubting the new OpTic, which certainly is the case right now. People are looking at these other squads that are being formed and the discipline that they might have, and looking at the OpTic Dallas team and they're going, okay, is that necessarily going to be the case? And well, maybe if they have Rambo Ray as coach, that is going to make a significant difference. At the end of the day, though, how much difference does the coach actually make? Because that's the fair bit of talk, right? If the coach is respected, then maybe they do make a fair bit of difference and people actually listen to them, because it seemed like Sender was making some good observations and saying some good things, but whether the team was actually taking that fully on board, that of course is difficult to say. And it's just a one-man show trying to prepare your team for all the matches and all the practices and all this type of stuff. It's going to be difficult to do so when you've got to consider all the other outer game factors, like the players turning up on time and these types of things. That's the thing, like if you've got a team like OpTic, having just one coach, like there's no way they're going to be able to handle absolutely everything in-game and out of game just as one man. So it seems like Envoy thinks that Sender did a fantastic job with what he had. Like he said, he was a godlike coach, but just not enough maybe as what they needed on the team. So maybe Sender plus Rambo plus even an analyst or something could help them out to some degree. But yeah, I'm sure Rambo is going to command some greater respect, but it's difficult to say exactly what's going to go on there. At the end of the day, I think that there was some talk a couple of years ago, right, when the OpTic gaming team was doing the Black Ops 4 season, right, and Crimsix and Dashy, they had their fair few back and forths. Here, to be fair, Dashy's got ILLey alongside him now, and ILLey seems like a very driven, motivated kid who, of course, has had an experience with Rambo Ray for the last couple of years. So maybe that will, I don't know, send Dashy and Scump to some degree on a better path than they have been the last couple of years. But certainly that is a big concern for the OpTic Dallas team in next season, because these other squads that are being formed right now, Los Angeles Thieves, Los Angeles Gunless, as they've been confirmed so far, there's certainly squads, you look at the work ethic of those teams, you look at how driven they are and motivated they are to to win and get revenge on their former teams and stuff like this, it's certainly, well, it's promising for those organizations, I think. Whereas OpTic Dallas, there is still that question mark kind of lurking over their heads, especially with what Envoy had to say just a couple of days ago. And of course, look, the major thing really is with OpTic is you got a guy like Scump, you had a guy like Formal last year. It's tough to make those guys respect you, right? And actually, seriously listen to you as a peer and what you have to say. And Rambo may very well fall into that category, because I mean, this was a while ago now, 2020, there was a Black Ops 2 throwback tournament, right? And on the right hand side here, you can see this classic image of big time at Rambo, Merc, and Scump from way back in the day. And Rambo and Scump, of course, have played Call of Duty together for a fairly long time. And as Scump says right here, in December 2015, I found you are my COD father, Rambo Ray. So that's the thing, right? If Scump does have a lot of respect for Rambo, then maybe that will kind of change his perspective, I suppose, on how he's going to approach this upcoming season from the practice perspective. But yeah, certainly a very interesting one. The whole Kenny for Formal thing could have been pretty crazy to think about. I don't know if that ever really would have necessarily happened, but who knows, right? Because Los Angeles Thieves, they've and 100 Thieves more generally have kind of been with Kenny for quite a while now. Kenny's never been dropped off any organization in his history of competing, which I guess he wouldn't have been dropped in that sense. But if you get the chance to go to OpTic, you kind of take that chance to go to OpTic. But with everything going on, seems like the Kenny Formal thing fell through. Formal just going to retire anyway, and now there's big questions about the discipline of this OpTic Dallas squad if it does form, and what they can potentially do coming into next year. And maybe Rambo is the key to making that happen, especially with the relationship as we just looked at with Scump, and maybe the respect that already exists between those two individuals. Just to finish off with this from Los Angeles Grillers, as we talked about their squad for the upcoming season, / the Gunless Huke and a team, seems pretty good, seems pretty dedicated. Definitely a roster to keep your eyes on, no doubt. But they talk about this: bring 2 Call of Duty World War II maps back into Vanguard. So I guess we have to choose 2 here. London Docks is certainly going to be one of them. We heard rumours that's coming back anyway. And then, okay, Gibraltar is an absolute, there's no way I'm bringing that map. The map was painful. Then we've got Saint Marie Dumont and we've got Ardennes Forest. So it's somewhat difficult to call between these two. I think for Hardpoint, Saint Marie was probably the best, and maybe for Search and Destroy as well. But I do kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for Ardennes Forest. But at the same time, Hardpoint and Search and Ardennes was pretty good. And to be fair, it also could kind of work for Capture the Flag. But I don't know. It's honestly really tough for me to call between these two. I might just say Saint Marie, because Hardpoint on that map was absolutely spectacular using the bar. But difficult to say. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube icon. I know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.